All right, so today we're going to talk about something that, touches every single one of us, dying. But we're going to look at it through a lens that might just change everything you thought you knew, reframing it not as an end, but as a profound and maybe even beautiful final journey.
And this quote, wow, it just hits right at the heart of what we're digging into here. The point isn't just to focus on what happens when we die. It's about what the process of dying can teach us about how to really, truly live. It's a powerful nudge to connect with our own lives, right here, right now.
So, where do we even start? Well, we start with attention that's really at the center of our modern world. We're going to look at this through the eyes of hospice expert Ineke Visser. I mean, this is someone who has spent more than 2 decades right there, at the bedside of the dying. And she points to this growing urge in our society to manage, to direct, and to control the end of life.
So, on one side, you have this intense focus on what the Dutch call regie, which is basically control. This looks like medicalizing everything, making decisions about euthanasia, trying to manage every single variable. And on the other side, you have the natural process of dying itself, this organic, unfolding journey that Visser argues is incredibly precious and deeply meaningful.
And that just begs the question, doesn't it? In our massive effort to avoid pain and keep everything under control, what are we actually losing in the process? Visser's work suggests that by intervening so much, we might be completely missing the inherent wisdom and even the healing that can come from this final, natural process.
Okay, so let's pivot a little. How do we shift from that big, outside societal view to what's happening on the inside? The deeply personal experience. To help us do that, Visser has developed this incredible framework for understanding what's actually going on as someone gets closer to death. She calls it the 7 layers of self. And the idea is that dying isn't like flipping a switch. It's more like a process, a gradual letting go of everything we think we are. It's a slow peeling away of the self, layer by layer, starting with the most physical and moving to the most essential.
So here they are, the 7 layers of self. You can see it starts with the most obvious, the physical body, and then moves progressively inward, through our emotions, our mind, our relationships, all the way to the core of it all, consciousness itself. Let's dive a little deeper into what this letting go actually looks like.
Okay, let's zoom in on the emotional layer for a second, because this is where things get really interesting. Visser explains that as our physical energy starts to fade, we just don't have the strength to keep suppressing old wounds or unresolved feelings anymore. All that unfinished business, as she calls it, just naturally starts to bubble up to the surface, almost like it's asking to be healed.
So why? Why does all this stuff come up right at the end? According to Visser, it's not a mistake or a sign of a hard life. She believes it's this deep, powerful longing of the soul to finally heal and make things whole. And resolving these things can bring this incredible sense of peace, not just for the person dying, but for everyone around them too.
And then, of course, there's the mental layer. What you believe about an afterlife, or God, or even if you think you lived a good life. All of that stuff comes to the forefront. And those beliefs can be a huge source of comfort, but they can also create a ton of fear and anxiety. They literally pave the road for the journey ahead.
And this brings us to a really crucial point. When we ask what actually dies, the answer isn't our essential self. It's our identification with these layers that dissolves. Our body, our personality, the roles we played, parent, child, CEO, even our old pains and beliefs. That's the stuff that falls away.
Okay, so as these layers fall away, we get to the really mysterious part of this journey. Visser explains that people often enter this expanded state of consciousness, a space that's right on the border, on the very threshold between life and whatever comes next. So, the big question is, what actually happens in that space? And look, this isn't about being confused or hallucinating, which is so often how these experiences get brushed aside. Based on decades of observation, something truly extraordinary often takes place. What's amazing is that people in this state from all over the world report incredibly similar things. Seeing loved ones who've already passed on, being surrounded by a brilliant, beautiful light, or hearing otherworldly music. And Visser is absolutely certain that these aren't just tricks of a dying brain. They are real, profoundly meaningful experiences that hint at a reality just beyond our normal senses.
All of this leads to her central belief, this idea of the continuity of consciousness. Basically, what we are, our core awareness, it doesn't just switch off. It simply leaves the body and continues its journey. Death isn't a final stop. It's more like a change of address.
So if this is all true, what's our role?
How can we actually help someone who's going through this? This advice is simple, but it's not easy. The best thing you can do is just be present, to bear witness, not to try and fix it. That means being sensitive to where they are in their journey, creating a quiet space, maybe backing off on physical touch as they withdraw, and this is the big one, not making decisions based on our own fear.
So really, the big takeaway here is a total reframe. What if we could stop seeing death as some kind of medical failure that needs to be fought tooth and nail and start seeing it for what it is, a sacred, natural, and profound final chapter of life? It changes everything, not just how we care for the dying, but how we think about our own lives. And that really leaves us with one last question to chew on for ourselves. If dying isn't the end, if it's just a transition, a letting go of the layers we don't need anymore, well, how does that change the way we live right now? What suddenly becomes important? And what unfinished business could we maybe take care of today?